Hello, everyone. Thank you for clicking this link, finding this link and finding this video and spending just a few minutes with me today. Because today I'm glad to announce that Medill First United Methodist Church will open its doors on Sunday, June the 7th at 10 a.m. to welcome members and guests for face-to-face, live, in-person worship in our sanctuary. After what seems like forever, some of us are going to get to lay eyes on one another and spend an hour together with the Lord, worshiping the Lord. We all need that kind of human interaction in our lives for our mental health, for our communal health, for our relational health, and I am very much looking forward to it. However, just because we're opening the doors for public worship does not mean that we believe there is no longer a health threat. So, to the best of our ability, we have put practices and controls in place which will allow us to gather in community safely and in a way that greatly reduces the possibility of any illness being spread within our congregation or out into our community. Or out into our community, from out into our community, out in our community into us. All of the precautions that we take because we love you. And we want you to continue to be well and illness-free. So we want to make you aware of what you can expect when you come, if you will, again, bear with me for a few minutes. We don't know right now how long these measures will be in place, but this will be the way that we will gather until our state and national health officials, our government leaders, our leadership at the Oklahoma Conference of the United Methodist Church, and our Medill United Methodist Church leadership team decides that we can relax our protocols and go back to some other maybe normal ways of thinking. And in some ways, we may never return to those normal things that we're used to. And first, I want you to know that the CDC and all other state and national health officials and organizations continue to recommend that the vulnerable population, those who are over 65 years old, and others with respiratory issues or who have compromised immune systems, those health officials continue to advise for that vulnerable population to stay home, that they are safer at home. And so if you are in one of those, even though we're opening the doors for worship, if you are in one of those at-risk groups for your own health and safety, please stay home. Now, if you are one of those faithful saints, maybe you have been described before as someone who is always in the church when the church doors are open. If you have always been one of those faithful saints to attend worship and not miss, and that when the church doors were open, you were there, but you are that person, but you still have concerns about whether or not you feel comfortable getting out in public, whether or not you feel comfortable being around other people. If you have those concerns, please stay home. If you think it's too soon, please stay home. And don't feel guilty if you don't come. We love you and we want you to be healthy. We're going to continue to live stream our worships, our Sunday morning worship service every Sunday on Facebook, and we will continue to be live on KMAD radio here in Medill. So you can continue to worship with us. You can continue to worship with your church family, even from the safety of your home. The next thing I want to do is touch on our cleaning and sanitizing our building. We have acquired disinfectant foggers. So every Sunday morning following worship, before we leave the building, we are going to set off disinfectant foggers that will disinfect this room from floor to ceiling, side to side, and kill germs while we are away. And then beginning on Monday morning, we'll come in, and all of the frequently touched surfaces, doorknobs, doors, handrails, desks, phones, things that are touched often by many people are cleaned and wiped and sanitized often, mostly by the people who are using those things. And especially when we have a visitor to the visitors to the church, after they leave, we wipe down and sanitize any surface they may have touched, which mostly includes doors and stuff. Our restrooms are treated the same way. And we ask that when you come, there are supplies in the restrooms, sanitizer wipes and stuff like that, that you can wipe down surfaces that you've touched before you leave to prepare it for the person who is following you in there. So all of these precautions we are doing, and so the interior of our building is as germ-free as we can make it. Next, when you arrive for worship, you will be greeted at the door, and we will take your temperature before you come in. We have a touchless infrared thermometer that registers your temperature in a second. And if you're running a fever, because we love you, we will inform you, and we will ask that you not come in and that you go home and contact your doctor or the hospital and tell them what your temperature is. Also, because we love you, all greeters and ushers and pastors will be wearing masks, and we will ask you to wear one too when you come in. You can bring your own, but if you don't have one, we will provide you with one. We have masks on hand. We have installed touchless hand sanitizer dispensers in the foyer and near the restrooms. We have individually wrapped packets of hand sanitizer to give you if you need. We have individually wrapped sanitizer wipes to give you one if you would like to wipe down your own area where you will sit. As I said, we have masks to give you. We have gloves for anyone who would like to put on gloves. So an usher will greet you at the door, take your temperature, offer to provide you with any of those supplies that you need, and will then show you to a seat. Now, it may not be the seat, if you're a regular, where you have always sat, because we will be practicing social distancing in the sanctuary, and will only be using the ends of every other pew in our worship service. So the usher will take you to the place and ask you to sit there. People who live together can sit together in those pews, and others will be asked to separate from one another to keep 6 feet of personal space between each other. If we fill up the ends of every other pew and we still have worshipers coming, those people will be seated in the middle of the skipped pews, and that will allow us to stay roughly 6 feet apart. A lot of thought and planning has gone into this, and we ask for cooperation and peace and grace in all of this. We have removed all commonly touched things from the sanctuary: Kleenex boxes, hymnals, Bibles, pens, pencils, attendance pads. All of that is gone so that we're not touching things that others have touched. Please bring your own Bible and your own hymnal. You can also help the church, those other resources, hand sanitizers, masks, and things. If you have your own supply of those things in portable quantities, purse size or pocket size quantities, you can bring those with you and use them and help the church conserve its resources. For now, we will only have one worship service on Sunday morning and a women's Bible study that will begin meeting in the fellowship hall on Wednesday, June the 10th. Those are our 2 test groups for how to introduce other gatherings, other worship services, and other small groups back into the life of our church. All other other than Sunday morning worship and Wednesday women's Bible study, all other Sunday school classes, choir, and other groups continue to be canceled or on hold at this time. When you come, we encourage people to not gather in groups for conversation inside or outside the church unless you distance yourself from one another. We love you, but the pastors and greeters will not be offering to shake your hand or hug your necks. And again, we do that because we love you. When we give our tithe, when it comes time to give our tithes and offerings, the ushers will come to you with the offering plate, but you will not take the plate from them and pass it. Just simply place your offering in the plate, and the usher will, that way we're not, again, many people, many hands touching that one item. Our first Sunday back will be Communion Sunday. And you won't come forward to the altar to receive communion the way we've done it in the past. If you have happened to come to church and participate in our drive-through communion out in the alleyway the last couple of months, we will serve communion in the sanctuary, in the church, very similarly to how we've done it out there. Parishioners will remain seated in their seats, and the communion elements will be brought to you during a song. And after the song is over, then you will be guided, you will be led through our communion service and our liturgy, and will be instructed on when to receive the elements, when to take the bread and the juice. When worship is complete then in the sanctuary, the pastors and others who are assisting will then move outside and serve drive-through communion to those who have chosen to stay at home and worship and join us in worship on Facebook or on the radio. I know this has been a lot of information, and I hope I haven't left out anything. Thank you for hanging in there with us. And as I wrap it up, I want to share with you a scripture. Colossians chapter 3, verse 15 says, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful." I'm aware that some may disagree with the plans our leadership team has made for our return to in-person worship. You may think all of this is ridiculous. Well, I ask for grace. May the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful. And I'm aware that some of you may think it is a mistake right now to return to worship. It's too soon to come back. Well, to you I ask for grace. May the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you are called to peace, and be thankful. We may not all think alike, but can we not all love alike and seek the peace of Christ to rule in our hearts? And for this season in our church, for this season in our community, for this season in our world, respect and love those who we may disagree with, and even wear a mask for someone. I pray for health. I pray for grace. I pray for peace. And I hope to see you soon. Shalom.